Have you ever experienced that moment when, after finding new love, your friends who were always by your side suddenly seem to change? What once was camaraderie has turned into tension, criticism, and even distance. It's as if, out of nowhere, your best friends have become enemies. But why does this happen? Is it jealousy? Insecurity? Or maybe, without realizing it, you've changed so much that you can't balance both parts of your life anymore? The truth is, many people have been through this, and you're not alone. But don't worry, there's a way to save both your relationship and your friendships. In this video, you're going to find out what to do when your friends seem to be competing with your new love and how to handle this delicate situation without losing anyone. Want to know how? Stick around until the end, because the answers might completely change your perspective on love and friendship. This kind of situation can create a deep emotional dilemma. You feel like you're walking a tightrope, trying to please everyone, but in the end, you just end up exhausted. Your new love brings happiness, but your friends start to drift away or act negatively, which disrupts your inner peace. How is it possible to keep balance when it feels like you're being pulled in two opposite directions? And more importantly, how do you ensure that, while trying to save your friendships, you're not sacrificing your relationship? These are common challenges, but they can be managed with the right strategies. You might be wondering, is it even possible to make everyone happy? The truth is, not always. But what you can do is learn to recognize which friendships are worth preserving and which need to be left behind. Sometimes, people you thought would always have your back show unexpected behavior when you find new love. But don't worry, because in this video, you're going to understand exactly how to deal with these situations and avoid letting them ruin your relationships. Are you ready? Then let's dive into this journey together. When you find a new love, the dynamic with your friends can change, sometimes subtly, sometimes drastically. The friendship that used to be effortless and uncomplicated can suddenly be overshadowed by feelings of jealousy, insecurity, or even fear of loss. Your friends, who once held a central role in your life, may start to feel displaced. It's as if, all of a sudden, they're in the background, and this can create an uncomfortable feeling of abandonment. At this point, it's crucial to understand that their behavior change isn't necessarily a direct critique of your new relationship, but rather a reflection of the emotional impact this new reality brings for them. This shift in friendship can be particularly challenging when friends feel that the new relationship is taking up all the space that was once shared with them. The feeling that they're losing you can trigger emotions like jealousy and insecurity, which may even lead to small conflicts. In this scenario, it's important to remember that your new love doesn't have to be seen as an obstacle to your friendships, but rather as a positive addition to your life. However, for this transition to happen smoothly, it's essential to acknowledge and validate your friends' feelings, giving them space to express their concerns without turning it into a competition. When someone gets into a new relationship, they can feel torn between loyalty to their friends and excitement for their new love. This divided feeling can be uncomfortable and, if not managed well, can lead to misunderstandings and distance. That's why it's crucial to approach the situation with empathy for both your friends and your partner, seeking to balance the two worlds. Understanding that this is a phase of adjustment for everyone involved is already a big step toward preventing friendships from turning into enemies. Now that we've addressed this initial impact, how do you handle it when your friendships start to feel more like a competition for your time? As your new relationship develops, a quiet competition might arise between your partner and your friends. It's as if everyone is suddenly vying for the same spotlight in your life, and this rivalry can lead to unexpected tensions. Your friends, who once had unlimited access to your time and attention, may feel they now have to fight to remain a priority. This competition doesn't need to be spoken out loud to cause harm, it can show up in small gestures, like sarcastic comments or possessive behavior. The key here is understanding that this competition is natural, but it must be controlled before it does irreversible damage to your relationships. Competition, though often unspoken, can manifest in different ways. A common example is when your friends start comparing, asking why you're spending more time with your new love than with them. Instead of taking this as a personal attack, it's important to see the root of the problem, their fear of being left behind. To diffuse this situation, an effective strategy is to include your friends in some moments with your partner, showing that both can coexist without needing to compete. By balancing your time between your partner and your friends, you reassure them that they still hold a valued place in your life. This sense of competition can also be heightened by the perception that you've changed, that your priorities are no longer the same. Your friends might feel like they're losing the old version of you, the one who was always available for a chat or an impromptu hangout. This is when it's crucial to show, through your actions, that the friendship still holds a special place in your life, even if circumstances have changed. Remember, this phase is temporary, and with patience and understanding, you can maintain a healthy balance between your new love and your old friendships. So, how do you manage this balancing act without anyone feeling neglected? Keeping the balance between new romance and old friendships can seem like a complicated task, but it's entirely possible with a little planning and empathy. Often, what creates a sense of distance is the lack of time dedicated to friends. To prevent this, you can set aside specific times for each part of your life. For example, dedicating certain days of the week to spending time with your partner and others to hang out with friends can help create a healthy routine. It's important that everyone feels they have a place, and this can be done without anyone feeling left out. A good practice is to communicate clearly with your friends about your new priorities, but also show that they're still an important part of your life. A practical example would be inviting them to group activities, like a game night or a barbecue at home, where both your new partner and your friends can interact. This way, the relationship between everyone can grow stronger, and your friends won't feel like they're being left behind. Of course, this only works if both your partner and friends are open to being part of this integration process. Another way to balance friendship and romance is by practicing mindful presence when you're with each group. This means being 100% present in the moment, without distractions. When you're with your friends, focus on them, rather than being on your phone constantly texting your partner. Similarly, when you're with your love, make the most of that time together. This approach will show both your friends and your partner that they have your full attention when you're together, creating a sense of security and mutual respect. But what if one of your friends isn't willing to make this effort? How do you identify if a friendship is becoming a problem? Sometimes, the competition between your friends and your new love can reveal something deeper, a friendship that has turned toxic or controlling. Signs of possessiveness, attempts at manipulation, or making you feel guilty for prioritizing your relationship are all indications that something isn't healthy. True friends celebrate your happiness, even if it means losing a bit of the time they once had with you. If, instead, they constantly criticize your partner or make you feel bad for wanting to spend more time with them, it's important to pay attention to these red flags. Toxicity in a friendship can be subtle at first, but it tends to intensify over time. A clear example is when a friend starts pressuring you to choose between them and your partner, or when they come up with excuses to make you cancel plans with the person you love. This kind of behavior signals that the friendship is becoming more about control than genuine support. One way to handle this is to confront the behavior directly with an honest conversation, explaining how you feel and giving your friend the chance to change. However, if the pattern continues, it may be time to reassess whether that friendship is still worth keeping. Your friends might not even realize they're being toxic, believing they're just looking out for you. But there's a fine line between caring and controlling. If a friend is constantly trying to sabotage your relationship, spreading rumors about your partner, or creating drama, it's a sign that something is very wrong. In these cases, it's essential to protect your emotional integrity. Don't be afraid to set clear boundaries on what's acceptable and what's not in your interactions with them. And if those boundaries aren't respected, it might be time to make some tough decisions. But how do you start this crucial conversation with your friends without creating even more conflict? When feelings start to get mixed between the new relationship and friendships, honest communication becomes the foundation of any resolution. If you feel your friends are drifting away or acting strangely, the first step is to open up a dialogue. Many misunderstandings arise from a lack of conversation, and a good talk can clear the air. Invite your friends to a sincere conversation, explaining how much you value both the friendship and your new relationship. Talk about your new emotional responsibilities, but also make it clear that they still have an important place in your life. Starting this kind of conversation might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary to prevent negative feelings from building up. A practical example would be setting up a relaxed meeting, like grabbing coffee or going for a walk in the park, where the atmosphere is calm and conducive to open communication. Avoid accusations or a defensive tone. Instead, focus on sharing how you feel about the situation. Empathetic and non-judgmental communication can open the door for your friends to express their concerns honestly as well. Often, they just need reassurance that your new love won't erase the bond you share. When talking with your friends, remember to actively listen to what they have to say. They might also be going through personal changes, and your relationship might just be the trigger for them to express other issues. Be open to hearing their frustrations, and use this as an opportunity to strengthen the bond instead of creating more distance. Sometimes, all that's needed is a shift in perspective for everyone to feel more understood. But what if the conversation doesn't solve the problem and envy continues to be a constant factor in your friendships? Envy can be a destructive feeling, especially when it arises between friends. When you find new love and are enjoying happy moments, it's common for some friends to feel a pang of jealousy, even if unintentionally. This happens because they might be going through a rough patch or simply wish for something similar in their own lives. Envy, in this case, isn't necessarily malice, but rather an expression of frustration on their part. By understanding their side, you can deal with this emotion more compassionately, preventing it from destroying the friendship. Many friends, when they see someone close experiencing new love, start comparing their own lives, which fuels this feeling of dissatisfaction. The lack of a relationship or even problems in their own love life can amplify this envy. Instead of reacting with irritation, it's helpful to remember that everyone goes through tough times, and your success in love may simply reflect the struggles they're facing. A simple gesture, like sincerely asking how they're doing, can help ease this burden and open up space for deeper conversations about what's really bothering them. A practical approach is to show gratitude for the friendship and support you've received from them over time, reinforcing that, even with a new love, that doesn't change. An example would be organizing casual hangouts where both you and your partner can be present, integrating your friends into your new life phase. This not only reduces feelings of exclusion but also helps to show that you're still the same open and approachable person. But, if even with these actions envy persists, it might be time to reassess who is truly on your side. Not all friends react the same way when you find new love. While some offer genuine support and celebrate your happiness, others might subtly sabotage your relationship. It's crucial to learn how to distinguish between those rooting for you and those who, for personal reasons, are trying to undermine your new love. True friends are the ones who, even if they feel like they're getting less of your time, continue to wish you the best. They understand that your happiness, no matter where it comes from, is what matters most. Genuine support is easy to recognize. These friends are present, respect your new commitments, and avoid creating unnecessary conflicts. On the other hand, sabotaging friends are the ones who plant seeds of doubt about your new love, make snide remarks, or even stir up drama between you and your partner. A practical example of sabotage is when a friend constantly brings up negative aspects of your relationship, even if those points aren't real or relevant. Pay attention to patterns. Who's always questioning you critically? Who never shows genuine interest in your happiness? To deal with this, it's important to focus on actions, not just words. True friendship is revealed in behavior, and friends who sabotage you tend to show this behavior more often than you might think. When you notice someone undermining your happiness, don't hesitate to confront the situation firmly, but with empathy. You have the right to protect your emotional peace and not let others' attitudes contaminate your relationship. So, how do you set healthy boundaries to preserve these friendships without harming your romance? Setting healthy boundaries is one of the most valuable skills when it comes to balancing your new love and old friendships. It's essential to let your friends know that, while your relationship is an important part of your life, they still hold a special place. Boundaries aren't unbreakable walls, but rather guidelines that help maintain respect and harmony. By communicating them clearly, you prevent resentments from growing while also protecting your relationship from outside interference. Keeping an open dialogue about these expectations is the first step in ensuring everyone knows where they stand. A practical way to apply these boundaries is by designating specific times for each part of your life. Dedicate quality time to your partner, but also schedule time with your friends, showing that both are equally important. For example, you could create a routine where one night of the week is set aside exclusively for going out with your friends, without interfering with plans with your partner. This can help establish a balance where no one feels left out. By doing this, you show that you know how to prioritize without having to give up anyone you care about. However, it's also important to define what behaviors are acceptable from your friends. If they're constantly criticizing your relationship or trying to interfere, it's essential to draw firm boundaries. Explain that certain opinions or actions won't be tolerated, but do so respectfully, avoiding unnecessary confrontations. The balance between friendship and romance largely depends on your ability to fairly protect both sides. But what do you do when even boundaries aren't enough, and a friend keeps crossing the line? Sometimes, no matter how hard you try to set boundaries and maintain balance, some friendships simply turn toxic. When a friend constantly oversteps boundaries, ignores your feelings, and insists on creating conflict, it might be time to consider whether that friendship is still healthy for you. Cutting ties with a toxic friend isn't an easy decision, but in some cases, it's necessary to protect your emotional well-being and preserve your relationship. This process takes courage, as it involves putting your happiness first without feeling guilty for it. Knowing when a friend has become toxic comes down to observing patterns of behavior. If you feel like you're constantly being manipulated, criticized, or pressured, or that the friendship is causing more stress than joy, these are red flags. A common example is when a friend continually makes you choose between them and your partner or makes negative comments every time you're together. Recognizing these behaviors as toxic is the first step in freeing yourself from a friendship that no longer contributes positively to your life. When it reaches this point, the ideal is to have one final honest conversation about the situation, explaining how you feel and why you're making this decision. There's no need to create an aggressive confrontation, but rather calmly and respectfully explain why the friendship isn't working anymore. Letting go of a toxic friendship can be painful at first, but in the long run, it brings relief and creates space for healthier relationships. And once this decision is made, the focus can shift to rebuilding the friendships that still have room for healing. Not all friendships that struggle with the changes of a new relationship have to end. Often, with time and effort, it's possible to rebuild the bridges that were shaken. When friendship is genuine, it has the ability to adapt and grow with you, even through the most challenging phases. The process of healing these relationships starts with empathy and forgiveness, from both sides. An open conversation, where both parties can express their frustrations and emotions, is crucial to restoring the trust that may have been broken. Take the first step by acknowledging moments when you may have prioritized your new relationship too much, unintentionally leaving your friends behind. This shows maturity and a willingness to repair the bond. A practical example would be inviting your friends to participate in meaningful moments with you and your partner, like a celebration or a special event. This can be a symbolic way of showing that there's space for everyone in your life and that you value the contributions they still make to your happiness. Healing a friendship also requires patience, as trust isn't rebuilt overnight. Instead of expecting an immediate change, show through your actions that you're committed to maintaining the relationship. Small gestures of consideration can make a big difference, like calling to check in or inviting them to hang out, even if just for a short time. But as much as you might be willing, sometimes the time has passed, and healing isn't possible. And that's when the difficult question arises: choosing between love or friendship. Reaching the point where you have to choose between love and friends is a painful decision no one wants to face. However, sometimes circumstances force us into this inevitable choice. Ideally, love and friendship could coexist in harmony, but that's not always possible, especially when friends can't accept or support your new relationship. The decision, in this case, shouldn't be made impulsively, but rather through deep reflection on who truly contributes to your well-being and happiness in the long run. When evaluating this choice, it's important to consider the role each person plays in your life. Your partner, if there's someone you see a solid future with, represents the beginning of a new chapter, while your friends have been an essential part of your story so far. An example would be when friends put you on the spot, forcing you to choose between them and your partner. Not only does this create unnecessary pressure, but it also reveals a lack of respect for your autonomy. In this situation, your priority should be what makes you happiest and most fulfilled, even if that means distancing yourself from friendships that don't respect your choices. Often, the dilemma of choosing between love or friends can be avoided with good communication and empathy, but when that doesn't happen, it's essential to be prepared to make tough decisions. If your friends can't accept your new love, as painful as it may be, it might be time to move on without them. Choosing love doesn't mean giving up friendship, but rather choosing what best reflects your desires and values at this moment in your life. And at the end of this process, what's left is learning how to handle the new challenges that life brings us. Now that you know how to handle it when your friends seem to turn into enemies because of a new love, it's time to put that knowledge into practice. How will you act from here on out? Is it time to have that conversation you've been putting off? Or maybe set boundaries that you've avoided until now? Remember, only you can decide what's best for your well-being and your relationships. Don't be afraid to make difficult choices, because, in the end, what matters is balancing your happiness with respect for those around you. And, of course, keep following our channel for more valuable tips on relationships, love, and friendship. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure you don't miss out on any of the upcoming content that could transform your life.